Hello Skywinders, welcome back to another episode of Skywind007. On today's episode we're going to be doing a very quick overview of this computer right here. This is the Apple MacBook Pro, which I have owned for a while, and I'm going to be doing some comparison to the other device that I have already reviewed, which is the MacBook Air from Apple. I've owned this since 2012, so that's about 9 years. And they're both great devices, but they're not perfect, so we're going to be talking about that today. And I'm going to start with the pros. I'm going to keep this video as fast and short as possible. The pros. Speed. That is the one thing that makes Apple different from everything else. Speed. And I'm not talking about total speed, I'm talking about speed that's on an average overall. These computers definitely maintain their speed. I used to have I believe a Toshiba. I can't remember the model, but when I bought it new, it was fast. And over time, within a year, it started slowing down. 2 years, it's kept slowing down to the point where it was impractical. I couldn't use it anymore. It was so slow I couldn't do anything else with it. That Toshiba was running a Windows operating system. I believe it was Windows 7 or one of those Windows. That was years ago. And I bought it right around the same time when I bought my MacBook Air. And what I did notice is that even though the Toshiba kept slowing down, these MacBook Airs, they maintain their speed. They do slow down a little bit, but not enough to make it annoying. And certainly not enough to encourage you to go throw it away and buy something new. So that is the one thing I know about Apple products, like the iPad, because we do have an iPad too, an old iPad that's still usable, even though it's been years, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. And same thing with this computer, same thing with the MacBook Air, and we also had an iPhone 5, I believe, that it just kept working until the battery started swelling and it sort of broke the phone apart because the battery got so fat. But the phone did not slow down. So what is the trick that Apple uses to keep their devices fast over time? Not just when they're new, but over time? I don't know. But it does seem like they've figured that out. So that's that is the major big pro on any Apple product. Not just this MacBook Pro, but any Apple product. The other thing that I do like, it's not a big pro, but I do like, and sorry about the thunder out there. The other thing that I do like is the fact that they gave you a free upgrade on their OSs. For example, like I said, I owned this computer since 2012, mid 2012, and it does have the latest OS, which is the same one, the Catalina, I believe. Let's look it up. I'm gonna have to close this so you can't see my personal information. Yeah, it's macOS Catalina 10.15.7. And that'll be because today's date is July 21st, 2021. Okay, so I was just hiding that because it'll show my computer's personal information. But anyway, it does have the latest. Well, this one's supposed to have the latest. This is the MacBook Pro. This one is a few years ago, but this particular one is from 2012, and it has the latest macOS operating system, and it's fast. Believe it or not, it's fast. You can use it, and it feels like a brand new computer. Maybe it slowed down a bit, but it's fast. So I don't feel that. I'm never thinking about buying a new computer. That's just not in my mind right now. And it's been 9 years. 9 years since I bought this. And I've been, over time, I've been upgrading. When a new OS comes out, you can upgrade. If you were to do that on a regular device, like that Toshiba that I had, which was not optional, that was not an option with the Toshiba, you could not upgrade. You were stuck with that Windows 7 forever. Now let's move on to the cons. One of the cons that I've noticed about these Apple devices, not just the MacBook Pro, but also the iPad and the iPhone, is that they overheat. Perhaps because they're so powerful and fast, and Apple likes to make everything thin. Everything on Apple is thin. They seem to, that's very important to them. But the byproduct of making everything thin is that things overheat. I mean, it's actually thinner. I think it's thinner than this is from 9 years ago. And it's almost the same thickness. So they're as thin as they could be. So you're going to have trouble with overheating. Especially if you try to run a software that's too powerful, like games. I used to like doing a flight simulator. That'll cause this to turn into almost like an iron. You can, it's unpleasant. It's so hot, and the fan, and there's an internal fan. It's going to be going the whole time. So it's a problem. They have a problem with overheating. Apple needs to try to fix that. The other thing that these Apple products have is storage. They have very little storage. I'm not going to get into the specifics of what the storage is on this computer, but I can tell you it's not enough. I believe this is 150 giga. The one that I have down there, that little MacBook Air, this one in 2012 had 60 gigabytes, which even by 2012 was very low. Believe me, it was low. And then I am a YouTuber, so I do like making videos. So when you make videos, you need a lot of storage. Otherwise, you have to keep deleting stuff. And that's a big problem that Apple has, because everything they have is a solid state drive and SSD solid state drive. So those are more expensive. They're better, true. They're faster, but they're more expensive. So the way to keep costs down for Apple is to make a very small hard drive. And that 150 or 120, whatever it's in here, by 2021 standards, we're in the terabyte era. So 150 is just ridiculous. You're going to have problems unless you don't store anything on it. Another problem that you might encounter if you buy an Apple product is Android compatibility. If you connect an Android device like your phone, because you want to transfer something from the phone to the computer and vice versa, you're going to need an Android file transfer utility or software or whatever it's called. You're going to get that from Google directly, so you won't need a third-party app, but you need that. Otherwise, it's not going to work. It's not a plug and play with Android. Apple does not want you to use Android. Apple wants you to use iPhone. So they're kind of like trying to be a monopoly there. I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't want to offend anybody. That's strictly my opinion. As far as the charger, that's another other problem I have with Apple. This comes with a charger. I'm not going to show it to you. Well, let me go get it. Okay, so here's the charger. This is the original charger. It'll last a long time. I bought this in 2012 with the computer. It came with a computer. Well, it didn't come with a computer. The very first one broke, so I went back to Apple and they gave me a new one for free. It was still under warranty, but it was that same year. It was like a few months after I bought it, so it was still under warranty. So they gave me this new one, and ever since I've been using it up until 2021. So that's 9 years. And now that it was time to switch it, because it was falling apart, as you can see, 9 years after I got it, I found out that the price on this is still $70, even though it's an older generation. I think it's called a I can't remember what it's called, the 45 watt MagSafe 2 power adapter. And they charged $70 for the original one. I ended up having to buy a third-party one. So I bought that third-party charger, which is compatible, but it's I wanted an original one that I didn't want to pay $70 for a charger, because I mean I can buy a cheap tablet for $70. And if you have a regular, I remember my Toshiba, the charger, eventually I had to replace it, and it would cost me maybe $25 for a good one, and as little as $18 for a cheap one, but I wouldn't recommend that necessarily. So that's the other problems with the Apple laptops. Another thing that I want to talk about is on this particular computer is the lack of a USB connection. It has this mini reversible Type-C connector and nothing on this side. Apple got cheap here. They could have added 2 more over here, and maybe 2 of the big ones if they would fit. Maybe they don't fit. But at least I would have wished that they would have added that big connection like this one has. Because look at that. That's the USB, the regular one, the big one. And this one, it appears to have 2, but it doesn't really have 2. Because remember, this is where you charge it. This one has a separate charger, so that's where you charge it. This one you have to charge it on something. So that'll use up one of your USB connections. And then when you turn it around, on this one, on the MacBook Pro, it doesn't even have anything on this side. On this side, it does have the one more. So it has a total of 2. When you're charging it, you have 2 spare USB. On the MacBook Pro, when you're charging it, you only have 1 USB. You can buy a dongle and an adapter and do some sort of unpleasant and unsightly adaptations, and you'll have access to multiple connections, but that's just not ideal, especially when you're paying $1,500, $1,500 for a laptop. You would expect everything to be absolutely perfect, which is not the case, especially when you're gonna have a memory on one of these things and perhaps a phone or even a mouse. You won't need a mouse because you already have the trackpad over here, and you can also buy a Bluetooth mouse if you have to. But anyway, I still do not like the fact that I don't have the 2 connections. I only have 1 because the other one gets used up by the charger, which I always have it plugged in. And by the way, it's not this one. This one will not plug in. Anyway, the next problem that I do have with Mac products in general is that they don't have a memory slot. Most computers these days, they'll have a SD card slot where you can plug and unplug an SD card. And on this type of computers, you don't have that. And that's specific to me, I guess. You could say specific to me. It might not be a problem for anybody else, but I do like being able to plug in a SD card, like a memory card, especially when you unplug that from a camera, because cameras do use SD cards. And if you want to connect it to one of these, you would have to get an adapter, and an adapter is one thing, and then the card is another thing. And that card might have a reader, and then you need an adapter for the Type-C USB, because the card reader will use the regular large USB. So that's going to be a horrific thing that's sticking out over here. So that's a problem. One last thing that might be a problem with this type of computer is with the Apple products is incompatibility. That's generally only the case if you're downloading games. Excuse my throat. Games will sometimes not be compatible with Apple. Sometimes they won't be compatible with Apple For example, if you go on Steam, and if you're a gamer, you probably know what that is. Steam, where you get the games. Steam games are mostly for Windows platform. So if you have a Mac, you might want to think again about getting a if you're a gamer, you have to be careful what you want to do. Also, since these computers tend to heat up a lot, being a gamer and having a Mac is not a good idea. So in general, do I recommend for people to get a Mac? Absolutely, yes, I do. I think it's great. One last problem with it that I forgot to mention is the keyboard. Apple keeps making these computers so flat and so thin that this keyboard is just junk. There's almost no feedback. It's so tiny. It's not like the older models. Right here, the keys are actually larger. You can see right away that they're larger. But these ones are so flat, they're very awkward. They're very awkward to use. So that's a problem. And yeah. Sound is acceptable, but it's no big deal. So anyway, like I said, I do recommend Mac products, but only for the reason stated above, which is the speed. That is the speed and the upgrades that you get from Apple. That's just amazing. You can buy a different computer which probably won't have any of these troubles, but it'll slow down. So it doesn't matter if it's great on everything else. If it slows down, you can't use it. And I've even bought, I remember I bought a tablet, NVIDIA Shield K1 for Android tablet. And it was supposed to be a gaming device. And it slowed down and I had to throw it away because I could not use it. And that's comparing it, not to this, because you can't compare a tablet to a laptop. That's comparing it to a iPad. The iPad was actually older and it's still in use. It's all scratched up and it's all dirty, but it still works. And my gaming tablet no longer works and I had to throw it away. So that's it for now. So should you buy this computer? For the most part, yes. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and thumbs up.